So this first hand, let me go speed up the action here. Player left to fold, opens the cutoff. Dani defends 10-8 suited, which is, you can debate the merits of. I'm sorry, he 3-bets 10-8 suited, which you can debate the merits of. But if this is kind of a kind of opponent that's going to fold a lot out of position and is going to have a relatively wide cutoff range, I'm sure there's merits to both 3-betting here, folding and flatting.
Yeah, I certainly would never fold here. That's one thing for sure. I think 3-betting is fine, as well as calling. I think when it's a cutoff raise, I don't think I'd ever fold here, though.
Okay. Flops King 7-5, and the opponent, like I said, in this hand is going to be love to fold, which is someone who, in general, you're going to think is going to have a fairly narrow outlook on poker. Plays a tight game pre-flop, especially plays a tight game post-flop. Just one of those guys who's constantly worried about running into the nuts, and you will see these guys a lot, and that will make folds that you wouldn't expect people to make, will make decisions pre-flop that you wouldn't expect people to make. And against these guys, you can really profit by playing hands in position and taking advantage of their nittiness. And especially in spots like this, against especially these type of nits, I feel that they don't really trap much. They don't really mix up their game much. So you can already probably discredit queens, maybe even jacks, kings, aces, and maybe even ace-king out of his range. So again, when you're looking at the flat calling range that these guys are going to have, it's going to be pretty narrow and pretty transparent in most spots.
And I think it's also important that, I should say, I think the flop bet there was a little bit too big. 160 is not really necessary. You got to think about the size of your bets, not just in relation to the pot, but even to some extent what's even more important is in relation to the size of your stacks, which is in relation to the size of the pot. Basically, you don't need to bet 160 there because 130 actually, and I've been working on a way of explaining this, but I haven't gotten there yet. But I'm pretty sure you can make an argument that betting 130 there is better both for value and as a bluff, basically because there's a point, basically a threshold whereby you're inducing enough action where with your value hands. You're inducing slightly more action than you would if you would bet 160, and at the same time you're not asking for so much action or asking for people to play you back and enough that it makes it less profitable when you actually are bluffing. And there is actually a point, I think, where it can be both, and so you can basically have your cake and eat it too sometimes. And I think 160 is a bit excessive, but we can move on to the turn.